Hello, my name is Mark. And welcome to my channel. And the reason why I decided to create this video is because I want to share my experience in creating this amazing enduro bike. I would like to show some assembly work, the problems I encountered and the reasons why I decided to do so. So the first part of the video, I will tell you how, why and what engine I chose for my project. Due to the pandemic last year and this year I spent a lot of time at home, so I decided to try to assemble an electric bike myself. For a couple of months, I searched for information and manuals online. I am a simple user who just knows how to read a manual and use tools. I am not a mechanic or an engineer. My main goals were low weight, high power and staying on budget as much as possible. So BEEM encodes itself as a number 1 bicycle, because it has pedals and bicycle look, number 2 electric, because it is electrically powered, number 3 enduro, because the main purpose is off-road, number 4 motorcycle, because it has the power and speed of a motorcycle. Well, first of all, I started with what it will be suitable for. So first consideration is for country roads riding. And this is where the first problem arises. In my country, a vehicle with a speed of more than 50 km per hour must be registered as a motorcycle, have a registration number, insurance, and so on. The second problem, the distance traveled, for example with a fully charged battery, can only cover about 50 to 60 km at full speed, which is too short a distance and makes no sense. So for higher speeds and on longer journeys, I have a petrol motorcycle, and at this point, petrol currently wins over batteries. So I finally decided that I would drive very little on the country's roads, say 10% of the time. So from the first point I realized I wouldn't need a high-speed winding engine. I learned that the same engine model can have different winding, and have either a higher maximum speed or a higher torque. Winding is mainly marked T2, T3, T4, T5, T6. So second consideration is for riding in the city. So here and again I have a small problem. In my country a vehicle that can run at a speed from 25 to 50 km per hour has to be registered as a scooter, have a registration number and have insurance. But the situation is better in this case, because if I ride and do not exceed a speed of 25 km per hour, and because the bike has pedals and looks like a bicycle, so I can ride in the city and not be afraid of being stopped. But since in the city I'm usually driving slowly, a high power engine is not really needed. But at the same time, it's fun when you can accelerate quickly. If there is no one around, then I drive faster. Another positive thing is that when riding in the city at bicycle speeds, it is possible to cover from 100 to 150 kilometers on a single charge. So I really liked riding in the city and quite often I do this. So in summary, I decided BEEM will be used about 40% of its time in the city. So the third consideration is for riding off-road. So here is the main reason why I decided to build a BEEM. Although on asphalt roads with a motorcycle I have been riding for a long time, however, I am a newbie on off-road. While my project of course may not equate to an enduro motorcycle, but for a novice it is not a bad decision at all. It also has its own strengths. It has a much lower weight, about 60 kilograms, so I can just carry it through any obstacle. It is more maneuverable and easier to handle, easier to push, has no clutch and gears, has a reverse gear, makes no sound. I don't do jumps, I don't drive too deep in dirt or water, I don't push too hard. Therefore, it is enough for a fun ride in the woods. Sometimes I drive with a friend who runs a petrol enduro and I don't lag behind. So off-road driving will take about 50% of BEEM time. Knowing all my needs, then I can choose the engine power and winding. So for engine winding I choose the T5, which means high torque and lower top speed of around 70 km per hour. After some googling, I decided to choose a Chinese QS motor engine. I basically choose between the two models QS205 and QS273. The main difference is 273 are more powerful, but at the same time heavier and more expensive, so I chose 205 engine. However, be aware that there are 3 versions of the 205 engine and that only the V3 version can reach the highest power. So what is the off-road traveling distance per charge? I measure it not in the kilometers, but in the time spent riding off-road. Usually with one charge I ride for about 2 to 3 hours. And the answer to why the battery lasts so long is several. I don't always drive and in nicer places I stop for a short time. When driving in the woods I not only accelerate but for quite a lot of time I brake or roll. All engine power and battery load are only used for a short time when accelerating. I rarely ride at the maximum speed. Now let's talk about engine power. The rated power of this motor is 3000 watts. However, by increasing the amount of amperes and volts, much more can be extracted from this motor. Theoretically, this engine could deliver more than 20 kilowatts. However, this would require modifications, rewinding the engine, filling the engine with ferrofluid, re-gluing the magnets, increasing engine cooling. So I decided to do a maximum power of 12 kilowatts and set the motor overheating protection via the controller settings to avoid overheating the motor. If the motor temperature reaches the specified temperature, the controller will limit or disconnect power completely. Although this power does not seem very high, it is important to keep in mind that the weight of the BEEM is much lower than of a motorcycle. This is the same as a motorcycle weighing 120 kilograms would have a power of 24 kilowatts, or a motorcycle weighing 180 kilograms would have a power of 36 kilowatts. Yes, kilowatt power doesn't look very impressive, but the electric motor has higher torque and a smooth power curve, which is not the case with petrol-powered motors, and the motor transmits power directly to the wheel. This results in very good performance, and you don't lose time on shifting gears. But I have to get to the forest somehow. For this purpose, I bought and fitted a holder on the car hook. This holder assembles and disassembles in a few minutes and is secured with a single screw. So, why I just did not buy anything new that is already riding? Well, first of all, because I had a lot of time, I wanted to assemble electric enduro by myself. The second reason is the new gasoline enduro costs more. And if we compare it with Surren, for a similar price you get twice as much power. Of course, and Surren can be made more powerful, but it will cost even more. Also, although the Surren has a motorcycle seat, but for my height, it's too low, so a height-adjustable bike seat is better for me. End of the first part. In the next section I will show what other parts and why I ordered.